Things take a dark turn as new details change everything in the Nancy Guthrie case. We might now be looking at a forensic map of a tactical, multi-man breach that was planned in advance. A propped open back door is rarely an accident in an abduction. It's a tactical anchor. While the porch guy was caught on the Nest camera creating a visible distraction at the front, the real breach was likely happening simultaneously at the rear of the Guthrie home. By propping the door open with an object rather than just leaving it unlocked, the intruders ensured a guaranteed, silent exit path that wouldn't click, slam, or snag during a high-stress extraction. This wasn't your average panic smash and grab where someone forgot to close the door behind them. It suggests a team that needed a live channel to move a non-ambulatory 84-year-old woman out of the house without fumbling for handles while carrying weight. This deliberate choice to keep the environment open proves the suspects weren't worried about being heard by neighbors. They were worried about speed and fluidity. It's a signature of someone who has practiced a breach and knows that in a two-man operation, a closed door is a liability. That unlocked door was just the start of a sensory blackout. Abducting an 84-year-old woman in the middle of the night is a high-risk gamble, but the intruders handled Nancy Guthrie with a level of calculated cruelty designed to paralyze her without a fight. Stripping her of her glasses, hearing aids, and shoes was a deliberate tactical move to shatter her defenses. When you rip away someone's ability to see or hear the world, you aren't just kidnapping them, you're inducing total sensory disorientation. For Nancy, who struggled to even reach her mailbox on a good day, being forced into the cold desert air barefoot and in pajamas meant she was physically and mentally tethered to her captors for every single move. This sensory blackout ensured that she couldn't identify the vehicle, the route they took, or even the voices of the men who breached her bedroom. It's a textbook compliance play, turning a terrifying situation into a complete loss of reality where the victim becomes a passive passenger in their own disappearance. By leaving her medical aids on the nightstand, the suspects ensured Nancy was essentially blind and deaf to her own kidnapping, and taking her senses was just the first stage of this trap. The timing of the entry at the Guthrie home points to a level of coordination that you simply don't see with a lone amateur predator. We have the porch guy, visible on the front camera, lingering and testing the doorknob, while the back door is simultaneously propped open and used as the primary extraction point. This two-pronged approach suggests a synchronized breach, likely managed through silent radio or phone communication between two separate individuals. One person acts as the lookout and distraction at the front, drawing any potential attention, or camera triggers, away from the real point of impact. While the front door showed no signs of forced entry, the back door was the hot zone where the actual abduction was executed. This kind of pincer move proves these weren't random opportunists who happened to find an unlocked door. They were operating on a pre-planned schedule with assigned roles. Staying on the property for nearly 40 minutes implies they weren't worried about a single intruder being caught, because they had eyes on every side of the house, turning a private residence into a controlled, tactical environment. They were talking to each other while Nancy was being taken. A letter surfacing after 50 days where the writer claims they didn't realize Nancy had a severe heart condition is a massive red flag for investigators. This kind of sudden remorse rarely comes from a genuine place of guilt. It's usually a calculated legal pivot. By claiming they didn't understand the seriousness of her medical state, the suspects are already trying to build a defense against a future felony murder charge. They're effectively saying, "We didn't mean for her to die," which is a classic move to mitigate the severity of their intent. If this was a genuine crisis of conscience, that letter would have come weeks ago when the $1 million reward was first announced. Instead, it arrives just as the forensic walls are closing in, suggesting the perpetrators are feeling the heat and are trying to soften the blow before they're inevitably caught. It's a desperate attempt to humanize a crime that was, from the very beginning, a cold and tactical abduction of a vulnerable 84-year-old woman in her pajamas. That letter is all about legal exit strategy, not only guilt. The blood pattern on the left porch is a blurred mess, and it's also a forensic signature that points directly to the suspect's lifestyle. Analysts have noted that the impression left in the blood isn't from a comic athletic sneaker or a flat-soled casual shoe. Instead, it shows the aggressive, deep-lugged tread of a trail shoe, the kind of footwear built for the jagged, unforgiving desert terrain surrounding Pima County. This tells us the individual wasn't more than a city-dwelling opportunist, as they were someone equipped for the rugged outdoors, likely comfortable navigating the off-road trails and washes that surround Nancy's home. If Nancy was barefoot, as the family believes, then this heavy tread belongs to a person who's standing right next to her, guiding or forcing her out the door. It suggests a suspect who didn't just stumble into this neighborhood, but is likely a local who knows the geography of the area well enough to believe they could vanish into the desert without leaving a trail behind. The shoes they wore tell us exactly where they're hiding. In the world of professional abductions, every second of the property is a massive risk. Yet these suspects treated Nancy's home like they owned the place. Most criminals are in and out within a 3-minute window to avoid detection. But the timeline here shows the intruder stayed for nearly 40 minutes. That kind of lingering defies standard criminal logic unless they were looking for something much more specific than just Nancy herself. You don't stay in a house for almost an hour just to grab an 84-year-old woman in her pajamas. You stay because you're searching for documents, valuables, or a specific piece of leverage that hasn't been made public yet. This comfort level suggests they knew exactly when Nancy's family was dropping her off and precisely how much time they had before anyone would check on her again. It transforms the crime from a simple kidnapping into a targeted extraction, where Nancy was only one part of the objective they came to collect. And as they were taking Nancy, they were hunting for something else. The sudden appearance of billboards spanning from San Diego all the way to Houston is a calculated expansion of the search grid and not just a broad publicity stunt. When the FBI pushes a campaign across multiple states in both English and Spanish, they aren't hoping and praying for a lead. They're acknowledging that the suspects have likely already crossed state lines. This bilingual approach specifically targets the demographics of the Southwest, suggesting the authorities believe the perpetrators are hiding in plain sight within a specific community or are utilizing the high-traffic corridors between major border states. It changes the narrative from a local Pima County search to a federal manhunt for a mobile, tactical cell. By casting such a wide net, investigators are essentially telling the kidnappers that there is no safe zone left for them to disappear into. Whether they're hunkered down in a rental Albuquerque or moving through a job site in Dallas, the goal is to make the suspect's face recognizable to every person they encounter, effectively suffocating their ability to remain anonymous. The net is stretching across state lines, closing in fast. The most unsettling shift in the Guthrie case isn't the forensic evidence, but the sudden silence between the family and law enforcement. In the beginning, we saw a united front at every press conference, but that public coordination has completely evaporated. When the sheriff and the family stop sharing the podium, it usually signals a unity red flag, a moment where the investigation has pivoted toward a person of interest that a family might be struggling to process or accept. This kind of strategic separation happens when the FBI moves their focus into the inner circle, keeping the family at a distance to protect the integrity of a looming arrest. It's a move that suggests the predator isn't a faceless monster from the desert, but someone with intimate knowledge of Nancy's routine and her home's layout. By cutting off the public flow of information, the authorities are starving the suspect of the media updates they've been using to track the case, making it clear that the final trap is already being set behind closed doors. If the suspect really was a guest, who knew exactly how to bypass the locks and prop the doors? Does that mean the person Nancy Guthrie trusted most is the one currently leading the FBI straight to her? Let us know what you think in the comments.